The 17th Amendment to the Constitution changed the appointment of senators to the election of senators. If senators were appointed and the 17th Amendment would have never taken place, we would not be in the situation that we're in today, because senators would have never overspent or dictated to the states that monies that they were going to have to spend or activity that they were going to have to be engaged in, because they were going to owe their allegiance to state legislatures that wanted to do that themselves. So I think one of the big issues of the day is that we did implement the 17th Amendment, which allowed for a popular election of senators as opposed to them being appointed. If they were appointed, we would never have had the overspending that has taken place.
Thank you.
Thank you. All of the candidates on stage, the 8 candidates that are on stage, have all said that they would appoint social conservatives as their vice presidential running mates. So I think I've already been excluded from being a vice president.
Okay,
you may have to read it.
Yeah.
This has happened before.
Yeah, the question Brandon asked is, Governor, what is your position on current national park funding and the national park system as a whole?
What are government's responsibilities? I mean, I think this is really one of them. That isn't to say that the national parks couldn't be run more efficiently, but I actually can't speak with any authority on how currently they're being run or how they might be improved. I will say that I enjoy the national parks. If there's something specific, is there something specific?
Well, Brandon, once we fix your voice, we'll come back to you. Meanwhile,
and I'm just pointing out the obvious here. The European turmoil is the whole notion of how many of these securities, individual countries' debt are being held by the European banks. It's not transparent. So and it's also U.S. banks. There's really no estimate or no accurate judgment on how deep this might run and how this could be a contagion of really a European collapse. So that's the issue right now, is all around uncertainty, and United States saying that they're going to step in and prop up banks or countries is trying to create certainty that that's not going to happen, and that's the international. That's the European Central Bank also that I think should be making these pronouncements, and not the IMF.
Thanks for being here. I'm Abigail Carlson with Johns Hopkins University. My question is, in the elections that took place just a couple weeks ago in Mississippi, the voters voted down the measure to give fertilized eggs the same legal status as people. That idea is now on its way to Georgia to be voted on. I'm wondering if, when you were governor of New Mexico, if this had come to you as a bill from the legislature, would you have vetoed it or supported it?
So this is one of those issues where I'm hearing the question, and it's complex. Sure. And I'm just, so I don't want to misspeak, but this is one of those issues where I would listen to the arguments on both sides, but I don't ever see myself fundamentally altering from the fact that you as a woman need to be making choice. This is your body that this is going to involve. I'm thinking, listening to you, and that you're the only one that should determine decisions revolving around that. I will say that I did, as governor of New Mexico, sign a bill banning late-term abortion, believing in viability of the fetus at some point. But and that's actually the law of the land. The law of the land in this country is that a woman should have the right to choose up until viability of the fetus, and the viability of the fetus is defined as being able to sustain the fetus outside of the womb, even if by artificial means. That is the current law of the land. Thank you.
Hi, Governor. My name is Julia from UCLA, and I have a question regarding the U.S. relationship with China. What policy would you implement to continue to foster maybe relationships?
So I'm not the tariff guy, okay? I'm not the tariff guy. If China wants to supplement the goods and services that they send to this country by supplementing those goods and services, I believe that we all benefit from the lower cost of goods and services. And if China wants to subsidize these products that they send to us, ultimately that's in their detriment. And in a free market, ultimately they're going to pay for that. Let them pay for that at some point in the future. I don't know why they're doing it, because it's a burden on the citizens of China to do that they keep their currency artificially low. This is something that they're ultimately going to pay for. And it's not going to be good that they should pay for it. They're choosing to do that. We take advantage of that in a free market economy. We're enjoying the lower cost of goods and services, and because we enjoy the lower cost of goods and services, we don't have to work as much to be able to do that. Fundamentally, how do you address the Chinese issue? You enact the fair tax, where our goods and services end up costing to produce 23% less, that we've become that much more competitive overnight by implementing the fair tax. That's the ultimate solution to China and trade with China. Right now, a lot of talk is being given about the Chinese military threat. I don't buy into the notion that China is loaning us money so that we can drop bombs on them. I don't buy it. I don't buy the notion that China is going to attack the United States, given that they're loaning us the amount of money that they're loaning us. And on the back of a napkin, I've done a calculation that given the amount of money that we've loaned them, and given the amount of interest that we have to pay them every year, that basically we're paying for their military. Out of the military dollar that's being spent worldwide, the United States is spending currently 52% of that military dollar, and we're 5% of the world's population. By comparison, China is spending 9 cents of that dollar. So Chinese competition, I think, is a really good thing. I'd like to see China cure cancer. It would be good for the planet. But the solution to that is the fair tax. The solution to that is a zero corporate tax rate environment in this country, where they're not going to go to China for more favorable treatment, because how can you get more favorable treatment than in a zero tax rate environment? So that's how we make ourselves competitive. And also, I believe that China, there's an untold story with China and the Chinese economy that's going to become very evident here at some point in the future, and that is that state-run economies do not work. China right now, I have been told, has perhaps the largest real estate bubble that has ever existed in mankind, and that is in their commercial real estate market, where 70% of the Chinese economy is building infrastructure in country, and it's sitting empty. It's new infrastructure that's sitting empty, and that at some point this is going to collapse, because there has never been a financial bubble like this in all time and space. This is my understanding, and it's going to happen. Is it going to happen next week, or 2 years from now, or 12 years from now? It's going to happen, and when it does, there's going to be a real reckoning by China that it's not the shining star in any way. Thank you. You've all been terrific. Everybody online and everybody here. Hanging in there. I mean, you had other places to be this evening. You chose to be here. Thank you. Really, thank you.
Hi Gary, how's it going? It's great. I'm Dylan Draper. I'm from University of California, Santa Cruz. I appreciate your free market approaches to energy. I had some questions regarding current regulations right now are allowing for mountaintop coal removal and the fracking for natural gas, which keeps them competitive. So even though you support the free market approach to energy, where do you draw the line between health and safety?
Well, so fracking, I'm going to keep an open mind on fracking because you know, the fact that in Pennsylvania you should turn on your water faucet and before fracking took place, that water came out of there and now you can light it. That's a real concern. It's a real live concern. I mean, we should all be concerned about that. And then mountaintop mining. You know, fundamental to this country is private property rights. So if you're hacking off the top of the mountain and you own the mountain, is that your right to be able to cut off the top of the mountain? If you start drawing lines when it comes to private property rights, then fundamentally, I think you're bringing an end to what this country is all about also. So I'm not going to get in the mining business I mean, I climb Mount Everest. I mean, my lifestyle is the mountains. I live just north of Taos because the skiing is as good as anywhere on the planet. And no, I don't like to see environmental eyesores in any way. So now you're back to rules and regulations and the restoration of these areas after they're done. And now you're back to EPA, whether that's state or federal, where you have to, where before you can commence the hacking off the top of the mountain, you have to present a plan on what it's going to look like afterwards, and you don't get the permit in the first place if you can't produce that plan. And I think that's good. I mean, that's back to not that's getting back to not doing away with the EPA, and that's back to balancing a property right that, yes, you have the right to be able to do that because it is private land, but we have drawn lines there, and I think perhaps those are important lines also.
So
I don't want a cement plant built next to my house because somebody has there's zoning. And so much of our daily lives are affected by zoning, which I think is a good thing, because you don't want the potential that mountaintop is going to someday be eliminated because those are the plans. But you should know that ahead of time before you purchase your site of that property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I want to thank the folks here in the audience tonight from universities of California, various campuses, as well as Johns Hopkins University, for really terrific questions and your participation, as well as the national and international audience, which we get here on Yowie.com. I want to thank Professor Gutman for putting this together, and we encourage you to go to GaryJohnson2012.com, follow up, and if you've got anything that you want to reach us, just do that through the website. Again, thank you all for coming, and
I want to make a pitch. I want to make a pitch. You know, if you like what you heard, for your vote, I'd like to make a pitch for a venti chai tea latte, $5. Donate $5 if you like what you heard.
And I'll up that to 42. That number you heard all night, or 43%. So anyway, we're here, and you know, no votes have been cast yet. This is really open, and I think you're sitting in a room with, I think the most qualified and person who has the most active, fertile mind on issues out there today, and we really encourage your help. Thank you again for coming tonight, and to all you out there in Yowie land.